Picture this. You're sitting at your desk, scrolling through emails when suddenly, bam, a wave of frustration crashes over you. Maybe it's a snarky message from a coworker. Maybe it's the 5th meeting invite of the day. Your heart starts pounding. Your jaw tightens. In that moment, it feels like this emotion could last forever. But here's a surprising truth. No emotion naturally lasts more than 90 seconds. That's right. 90 seconds. Unless you keep feeding it, your body's initial chemical response to any emotion is flushed out in just a minute and a half. That's not self-help fluff. That's neuroscience. Let's get into what's happening inside your brain. When you experience an emotion, anger, fear, excitement, your body instantly releases a flood of chemicals. It's like pulling a lever and unleashing a cascade throughout your system. But here's the kicker. Those chemicals are naturally flushed out in about 90 seconds. That is, unless you keep the emotional circuit running with your thoughts. If you replay the injustice or worry about what's next, you keep the cycle going. But if you let it run its course, the wave passes. This isn't about thinking happy thoughts. It's about understanding your biology. Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor, a Harvard neuroscientist, discovered this fascinating process. She found that what keeps emotions lingering isn't the emotion itself. It's the stories we tell ourselves, the mental replay, the internal narration that reignites the chemical response again and again. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how anger can last for hours, but only if you keep revisiting the reason? The original feeling was just a spark. The rest is the fuel you add. Next time you feel anger rising, try this. Instead of reacting or lashing out, pause. Notice the sensations in your body. Does your chest feel tight? Is your face warm? Now, simply count to 90 while breathing slowly. Don't try to squash the feeling. Just watch it move through you like a passing wave. You might be surprised to feel the physical intensity drop away as the chemicals exit your system. This practice gives you enormous power. Suddenly, you're not a helpless passenger in an emotional storm. You're the observer, calmly watching the weather roll by. Most of us never learn this. We treat emotions like permanent fixtures instead of passing weather. But emotions, just like rain or sunshine, always move on, if we let them. Who hasn't had that moment of snapping at someone and regretting it just seconds later? That's the 90-second rule in real life. By the time you realize what happened, the emotional chemicals are already fading. Yet we blame our feelings for our actions. "Sorry," I yelled. "I was just angry." That's like blaming the rain for getting wet when you forgot your umbrella. Emotions are convincing salespeople. But they don't make your decisions. You do. Let's talk about cognitive reframing. What if disappointment wasn't caused by what happened to you, but by the gap between what you expected and what actually occurred? And what if you had the power to close that gap? Cognitive reframing is a mental technique that lets you shift how you see a situation, without changing the situation itself. Our brains are prediction machines. We're constantly writing scripts in our heads. When reality doesn't match, we get disappointment, anger, sadness. But reframing lets you see things differently. Not by pretending everything's perfect, but by finding a more accurate, less catastrophic perspective. Imagine you didn't get the promotion you wanted. Instantly, the catastrophic frame pops up. I'm a failure. I'll never advance. But stop. What if you reframed it? This is one setback in my career journey. What feedback can I get to improve next time? See the difference? One closes doors. The other opens them. Reframing transforms disappointments into actionable challenges. It's not about being blindly positive. It's about being accurate and keeping your sense of agency. The frame you put around a problem determines if you'll ever solve it. You know those moments when something terrible turns out to be a blessing in disguise. Reframing lets you find that new perspective on purpose, not years later in hindsight. Our brains love to dramatize. Get criticized in a meeting. Cue the tragic movie soundtrack. Your career is over. Meanwhile, everyone else has already moved on and is thinking about lunch. We're living in a movie of our own making. Sometimes, it's time to rewrite the script. Now, let's open up your emotional first aid kit. You wouldn't go hiking without a first aid kit for scrapes and cuts. So why do we face emotional storms empty-handed? An emotional first aid kit is a set of personalized tools, tricks, and reminders you prepare in advance. Not when you're in crisis, but when you're calm and clear-headed. The kit should match your unique triggers and needs. It should have multi-sensory tools, something to see, hear, touch, or do. Things that interrupt emotional spirals and help you reset. Let's build a basic kit together. First, think about your most common emotional struggles, like anxiety or self-doubt. For each, pick a physical action like doing 10 jumping jacks. Add a sensory element, maybe a calming scent or favorite texture. Include a cognitive tool, maybe a mantra or question to ask yourself. And add a social lifeline, like texting a supportive friend. Keep these in a note on your phone, along with reminders of tough times you've already survived. When the emotional storm hits, you're not scrambling. You've got tools ready for your unique brain. Most people never talk about this. How to actually handle emotions in the moment. When crisis strikes, your brain is like a toddler on a sugar rush, wild, impulsive, and not making great decisions. Your emotional first aid kit is the calm adult in the room. The one who says, "Okay, that's enough candy for now." It's not paranoia. It's wisdom. Let's talk about rumination. Ever tried to stop thinking about something, only to find it stuck in your head even more? That's mental quicksand. Rumination is when your mind circles obsessively around past events or negative emotions. It's not problem solving. It's just spinning your wheels. And here's the twist. Trying to force yourself to stop thinking about it only makes it worse. Like telling yourself, "Don't think about a pink elephant." Suddenly, it's all you can think about. So what can you do? Try the 5-3-1 technique. First, name 5 things you can see right now. This grabs your visual attention. Next, move to a different spot, even just across the room. Then, do 3 minutes of something absorbing, like counting backward from 100 by 7s. Finally, take one productive action, either related to your problem or totally unrelated. This isn't about suppressing thoughts. It's about redirecting your mind's incredible focus. Your mind is like water. Give it a new stream to flow down. Remember those nights when you can't sleep because your brain won't shut up? Replaying that one embarrassing thing from years ago? That's rumination. We all do it. My brain at 3 a.m. Hey, remember when you called your teacher mom? Let's analyze that for 2 hours instead of sleeping. Thanks, brain. Super helpful. Let's move on to the spotlight effect. Did you know most people overestimate how much others notice their mistakes? We walk into a room and feel like there's a giant spotlight on our flaws. But in reality, almost nobody is paying attention. Cornell University proved this by having students wear embarrassing t-shirts. The wearers thought everyone noticed, but almost no one actually did. Why does this happen? Because each of us is the main character in our own universe. We notice every detail about ourselves, but everyone else is just as focused on their own story. Think back to a time you made a small mistake in a presentation. It felt huge to you. Can you remember the small mistakes others made? Probably not. You were too busy worrying about your own performance. Understanding the spotlight effect is liberating. It frees you from the imaginary jury in your mind. Most of the judgment you feel is coming from inside the house. We've all had that panic. Everyone saw my stained shirt. Reality check. Most people didn't notice. My brain at the party. They're all judging your fork skills. Reality. Everyone's worried about their own forks. We're all just forks in the road, people. Now, let's talk about a tiny language trick with huge power. Third-person self-talk. What if, instead of saying, "I can't handle this," you said your own name? Peter can handle this. Research shows this simple shift creates distance from intense emotions and helps you see situations more objective. It's like flipping a mental switch. Suddenly, you're your own wise friend, giving advice. The next time you're struggling, notice your self-talk. If you catch yourself thinking, I'm going to fail. Pause. Change it to your name. Peter has overcome challenges before. He can do this. This activates the rational advisor part of your brain instead of the emotional, panicky part. Suddenly, you're getting the same clear-headed advice you'd give a friend. The way you speak to yourself shapes your reality. Ever notice how harshly you talk to yourself? You disaster! How could you forget your keys again? If a friend did the same thing, you'd say, no worries. Happens to everyone. Your inner voice needs a lesson in basic kindness. By using third-person self-talk, you give yourself permission to be human. Let's get real about positive thinking. You've probably heard the advice, just visualize success and it will happen. But here's a twist. Positive thinking alone can actually make you less likely to achieve your goals. Why? Because it feels so good to imagine the outcome that you lose motivation to do the work. What works better is something called mental contrasting. Mental contrasting means combining hope with realism. First, vividly picture your desired outcome. Then, deliberately identify the obstacles you're likely to face. Finally, create specific if-then plans. For example, you want to work out more. You imagine feeling energetic and confident. But you also face the reality. You'll be tired after work or tempted to skip. So you plan, if I'm tired, then I'll just do 10 minutes and decide after. If I want to skip, then I'll remind myself exercise boosts my mood. This is the difference between wishful thinking and actual strategy. How many times have you started something full of enthusiasm, only to give up when the first obstacle hits? Mental contrasting gives you the foresight to handle those challenges. Pure positive thinking is like planning a road trip by staring at the destination photo and ignoring the actual map. You end up lost and surprised when you run out of gas. Hope for the best. Plan for the bumps. Let's talk about anti-fragility. What if you could build a life that doesn't just survive stress but actually gets stronger because of it? That's anti-fragility. It's the opposite of fragility. Your muscles grow from the stress of exercise. Your immune system toughens from exposure to germs. Your mind can do the same if you introduce voluntary discomfort and calculated risks. Start small. Try a 30-second cold shower. Skip a meal. Have that difficult conversation you've been avoiding. These controlled stressors build your capacity for bigger challenges. Create backup plans, so no single problem knocks you down for good. With anti-fragility, you see stress as a stimulus for growth. The obstacle isn't in your way. It is the way. Think about your proudest achievements. Did they come from comfort? Or from pushing through challenges? That's anti-fragility in action. Your comfort zone is like an old sweatshirt, feels great but keeps you from experiencing new things. Sometimes, comfort is just quicksand in disguise. Now, let's explore the Stockdale Paradox. During the Vietnam War, Admiral Jim Stockdale survived over 7 years as a prisoner of war. How? He held two beliefs at the same time. He never lost faith that he would prevail in the end, but he also confronted the brutal facts of his current reality. The optimists who thought, we'll be out by Christmas, had their hopes crushed again and again. Stockdale balanced hope with hard truth. When you face long, difficult challenges, like illness, career setbacks, or heartbreak, remember the Stockdale Paradox. Acknowledge, this is hard, and I don't know how long it will last. But also affirm, I am absolutely committed to finding a way through this. This keeps hope alive without setting yourself up for constant disappointment. It's a sustainable way to endure. Courage isn't about being unafraid. It's about facing fear and moving forward anyway. We all have those times when there's no easy answer. The Stockdale Paradox gives you a framework for surviving the long, dark nights. My optimist brain says, don't worry, it'll all be fixed by next Tuesday. But when Wednesday comes and it's still a mess, it's time to stop making predictions and start building resilience. What if you didn't have to bounce from crisis to crisis? What if you could build a personal resilience system, a set of habits and tools that help you handle anything life throws your way? Building resilience is about practice, not genetics. It's about having a system, not just willpower. A good resilience system covers 4 areas: your body's stress response, how you frame events, your behavior patterns, and your social connections. Start with the body. Try a daily breathing exercise. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 7, exhale for 8. For your mind, use third-person self-talk and the Stockdale Paradox. For behavior, apply the 90-second rule and mental contrasting. For social support, identify 3 to 5 people you trust. Practice these regularly, not just when you're in crisis. Over time, they become automatic. Like a well-designed machine, your system keeps working even when parts are under stress. I often think resilient people are just born strong. But resilience is built through consistent practice and design. It's like updating your brain's operating system, not with unnecessary features, but with real upgrades that help you run better. And there's no annoying remind me tomorrow button. These 10 tools don't just help you survive hard times. They transform your whole relationship with challenges. The 90-second rule shows you emotions are temporary. Reframing helps you see opportunities in setbacks. Your emotional first aid kit gives you practical, personalized tools. Breaking rumination frees your mind. The spotlight effect lets you relax about being judged. Third-person self-talk taps into your inner wisdom. Mental contrasting prepares you for real obstacles. Anti-fragility turns stress into strength. The Stockdale Paradox sustains hope through hardship. And a personal resilience system weaves it all together. These aren't one-time tricks. They're practices to integrate into your life. They build a foundation of strength that will serve you through any storm. The tools will find you when you need them most, because you've planted them deep in your mind. Resilience isn't about avoiding storms. It's about learning to dance in the rain. Start simple. Pick one technique from today that resonated with you. Practice it for a week. Notice what changes. Then, add another. Building resilience is a journey, not a destination. And it begins with a single step. Take that step today.